All right, so our video today is going to review what makes a good argument claim and how you can help to identify your audience. So let's get started. So this should accompany your claim and audience chart that is in Schoology. It should help you to articulate a little bit better what your claim is, making sure your claim is in fact an argument, and then who that argument is addressing, who is your audience. So how can you tell if an argument claim is complete? Because some of us have some claims, but they're not actually arguments. So these are the three things we're really hoping you have. We're hoping that it articulates a side to an issue or a question. It should sound like an argument, like this is my side, and the audience should be able to sort of feel what the other side would be. It also needs to have, like every other claim we've written this year, a because with at least one valid, coherent reason in it. And in that same vein, it needs to make sense. Your argument should fit the question that you have selected. So let's take a look at a few. So on the left is a sample. Is it a good argument claim? Why or why not? So go ahead and pause and think. So this is not a good argument. It does not have a reason in it. It does sort of take a side, but we're not really sure what it is. What are those new skills that will qualify them to work in a virtual environment? So you want to make sure that you have something to cling to. What is the reason that you're saying this? Let's look at another one. Go ahead and pause. What do we think? It's pretty close. Should adopt school uniforms, that's a side, to help promote an inclusive environment for all students, regardless of socioeconomic status. Although it doesn't have a because, we can definitely see that this is the reason. It's to promote an inclusive educational environment. And it does make sense. So this is a pretty solid start here. What about this one? I'm hoping immediately you said no, because there is no because. How do you know? What is the reason? So this would be a good time to stop and look at your own claim and make sure that yours is fulfilling all three of these things over here. The next part would be the audience, because your claim is going to have a counter to it. So who are you talking to that's going to counter your side? So I've adjusted these three claims so that they do have more reasons or argument components to them. So who might this first one be addressing? I kind of figured it would be like high school students or seniors or college students, but each of these are going to be a very different argument. So what would time management look like for a high school student versus a college student? What would learning Microsoft Office look like for a high school student or a senior versus college students, and so on? What about number two? This one was a little more narrow because it already said high schools. So you could address our administration, you could address the Board of Education or any person on the board that would have the ability to change the rule. So I can't talk to high school students about high school uniforms here because high school students can't do anything about it. And number three, what do you think? So if you're going to talk about physical movement, you might, in this one in particular, is talking about steps per day. You might talk about people who are tracking steps already or those who have a step tracker. This is a little broad, but you could probably still have it work. PE students is even more narrow. So ultimately, when we're talking about audience, we really want it to be as specific of a group as possible because we know that this is where we're going, right? and I showed you my example in class, but ultimately we need to know what our side is and who we are talking to so that we can articulate what the counterclaim and rebuttal are going to be.